how data or new platforms come out. That gets to the heart of how we handle it in the US. Content in the US and our soft power is extremely powerful because it's not manufactured. It comes from three things. It comes from market-driven factors and forces, the decentralized economy and the decentralized media economy that we have, and then a foundation in a lot of what Gaurav was talking about that is based on freedom and the freedom to express yourself as a content creator. The government stays out of it. So we have a $1.1 trillion content creative economy in the US. That's about a little bit more than 1 lakh crore rupees. It's huge, and that's driven by market-based decisions, some of which are based on algorithms these days, some of which are based on decisions that funders and others in the ecosystem make. But a lot of it's driven directly by what audiences want, and that's going to help push toward new technologies when they can be innovative. The innovation is going to come in a decentralized way, just as you two were talking about. India's got, with the union system, you have competitive federalism among the states. We have the same thing, and we have some states like Georgia that offers a 30% incentive and tax structure to pull in new films. You also have decentralized format for the rest of the ecosystem, which can be universities that do the skilling and the training. It can be philanthropic organizations, each one of which may attach themselves to a specific technology or a new art form. And then the third thing that we look at is the foundation, which is in our Constitution. And those three things, I think, help drive us.
Right. Thank you. So the main point is that it is market-driven, right? From there, we come to you, Mr. Suzuki. How has Japan found the balance between market-driven content and content which is supported by government in some way?
Thank you. And JETRO, our organization, is just playing a part of the whole initiative by Japanese government. And this time I researched all the ministry or department, how they're working on to support our content industry. And my impression is that I didn't know such a many initiatives and subsidy program or schemes Japanese government is providing to the industry. And I just would like to tell you the current outline. It was just last year, our government announced the new Cool Japan strategy, which aims to increase the size of the overseas market for Japan's contents industry from 4.7 trillion yen in 2022 towards 20 trillion yen by 2033. It's going to be a 13 trillion rupees equivalent, about 4 times that amount. And our government has been actively supporting filmmakers, creators, artists through various initiatives. There are many initiatives, so I cannot speak without these papers, actually. And first, the Cultural Affairs Agency launched 6 billion Japanese yen, equivalent to 4 billion rupees fund to foster young creators who promote Japanese cultures and abroad. And the Ministry of Economy, Industry, Trade also supports the commercialization of new creators and startups that produce a high-quality content in such as games and videos, music, ad, and fashion. And the other efforts include attracting overseas production companies to film on location in Japan. This initiative is called the JLOCS Plus, Japan Content Localization and Business Transformation. And we have more and more. So these initiatives aim to provide a continuous assistance throughout the entire process, from planning and production to domestic presentation and international exposure. And of course, this time a WAVES event is one of the activities we are doing. So additionally, some the activities like a public-private council are established to spearhead the measures related to the creative and content industry, including discovering and nurturing creators, supporting artistic production, and facilitating overseas expansion. Some other, the schemes for funding and training programs for emerging creators we have. And METI, Japanese Ministry of Industry and Economy, has some Excel development support for those the ventures from Japan. So many. And we, JETRO, are playing a role for those Japanese business to explore the foreign market. And this time, almost 20 Japanese companies are participating in this WAVES event, and they really try to explore this opportunity to Indian market, and also would like to work together with the Indian players for co-production or any type of the collaborations they are aiming. I think that the balance is, of course, comes after. So anyway, our government is trying our best to support those overseas exploration, not only marketing, to co-work with foreign players. That's my comment.
Oh, thank you. Great to hear the wonderful support that the Japanese government provides to creators, and we are really glad to hear that you're looking forward to co-productions as well. So maybe some cue for Charvi. So Charvi, my next question is to you. As Mr. Suzuki mentioned that their government supports commercialization of IP. So in your case, from your personal experience, you had an IP which became commercial, but through a different channel, not really the government. So can you take us through how that process happened, and what is the difference between an idea which has come from an artist, from oneself, versus an idea which has been given to you as a contract?
So just to answer the first question as to how it all began. So it started with a short film, which was 13 minutes long. It was sung by Amitabh Bachchan ji and likes of various other singers. The 13-minute film was on Hanuman Chalisa, and this was done back in 2013. It started as a commercial project, but like many other projects in India, the producer backed out, and it became my own personal project out of passion. And then, of course, as a creator, as an artist who wanted to make things happen in this world, and to also create an example for the animation landscape, we figured out that maybe we need to create a show, because 13-minute film does not have a platform in India. Unlike Canada, where you have National Film Board of Canada promoting short films, there is no such entity in India that promotes short films at that point of time. So we thought of curating an exhibition, and that exhibition basically housed various interesting artifacts which were very unique and contemporary, larger than life. So that had a success, a huge success. The exhibition took place in Select City Walk in India, and it became a mobile show. Now that show, that exhibition, gave us so many eyeballs, and the film alone went to 50 film festivals across the globe, and it was shortlisted for Oscar qualifying film festivals as well. From there, we were able to catch a lot of eyeballs and get the right traction in. And then that's how I was connected with Graphic India. I was contacted by them, and we started our association. So in 2017 specifically, that's when we joined hands and we decided that, okay, this film can be now, it's the right time, let's go ahead. And we had our Legend of Hanuman, we kickstarted the project. But without Hanuman, the film itself, and the traction that it had gained, Legend of Hanuman would have not happened. So that's the tenure, I would say, that's the journey that I had to undertake myself in order to reach where I am right now. So that was the answer to the first question. Now the second question was about the idea and the contract. So as I mentioned, this was an example when I was trying to make it work. It was, of course, self-funded, it had to be driven. I had to motivate myself, in which manner because this is not just a day or a year process. This was like a very long process. So when you are pushing yourself, idea is what matters the most. And when you have sort of created a name in the industry, the contracts do come, but they do come with various formats in place. For example, if now I'm contacted for a show, for a commissioned show, typically it will come with deliverables, it will come with a strategy in place, it will have various guidelines which will have the broadcaster in place, and they will definitely put a template that, okay, this is the broad formula that we are wanting. This is the template, and this is where you have to start defining your characters or the story. And this is the character arc, this is the story arc that they wish to go for. And of course, it comes with timelines, it comes with external pressures. So, but yes, even today at CDL, if we are wanting to create something our own, it will start with an idea. There is going to be a lot of freedom. And of course, with freedom, if I want freedom, then it has to be funded by myself, as Gaurav sir just mentioned. But yes, if I'm wanting to go for a commission project, like the way we do for producers and broadcasters, they do come with their own ecosystem, with their own guidelines. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so if somebody is giving you the money, they are going to put their terms and conditions.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Mr. Dwivedi, I would like to hear from you. What are the steps which the government has taken through Waves? Is there a platform which has been created to actually kind of provide the support that creators are looking for, and the kind of support that this platform will provide to IP creators?
Yes, there is actually a big change which has happened in terms of how Prasar Bharati would source content in the past and how we started doing it in the last year or so. I'll give you 2-3 examples which will make it clear. Going back into history, you are all aware that either there would be in-house programs or there would be sponsored slots which were sold out, and all the great programs which came in from the industry ran as sponsored programs, and then those people took them back and then ran them elsewhere as well. Now, in our case, the process of grant funding or commissioning a project, and particularly a creative project, is fraught with many kind of procedural hurdles. And despite our best intentions, we found that to be able to commission a project, if we were to follow that entire government the financial regulations, it would mean that it will take us maybe 1-2 years or even longer to really commission a project. And this is when those projects were high priority projects which were being chased hard by everybody. And within 1 or 2 years, I mean, if that's an eternity in the content world, the algorithm would start saying something else by that time. So you're coming out with a story which possibly nobody wants to hear after 2 years. So therefore, what we've started doing is to go in for a greater emphasis on content which is already produced, and even content which has possibly had a first run elsewhere, but if people are willing to share it with us on a revenue share mode as an additional funding stream, then we've generally accepted the principle of a non-exclusive revenue sharing, both on linear as well as on the Waves OTT platform. And we found that many of our colleagues in the industry are happy to come and join hands with us. Our friend Ravindraji is sitting in the front row. He's one of our major partners. But also, instead of doing a commissioning exercise, we've tried to compress that and make it into a procurement exercise. And there we've developed a kind of a formula by which there could be pricing done on some elements. While always there's this whole question about that you can't value art and you can't value creativity, which is right in its own place. But then if the private sector also does it, then we should also be doing it. So why should there be a difference in approach on both sides? So what we've also started doing now in the last year or so is that fresh content which is created within the last 5 years, whether it is movies, whether it is live action or even animation for that matter, we've developed this matrix for valuation of such content, and then started to procure this content and then run it on the Waves platform as well as on the linear platform. The idea essentially is that instead of commissioning and putting out the money up front, if we are able to take a ready product and then choose from the various options which are available and which gel with whatever are the current market trends in terms of viewership, then we would be able to eliminate the gestation period from commissioning to delivery. And therefore, we would be able to get content and, proceeding on the assumption, of course, that at least some of the content creators are also looking at the same market trends and are able to foresee what is the kind of content which would be required at a particular point in time. And when that intersection happens, then we are in the right place with the right kind of content and are able to procure it much faster. We found that we are able to even do this exercise in as little as maybe 2 to 3 months. And given our processes and procedures that we are supposed to follow, I think that's lightning fast. So we're still trying to compress the process further. But then, as a caveat, that since there is always a limitation of funds, and particularly in the government, in the public broadcaster particularly, since there is always a limitation of resources. So we need to join hands with the larger industry and then try to figure out ways by which we can maximize the returns on the kind of content that we are getting. So for instance, if, say, the Legend of Hanuman, just to take the topic which was mentioned in the beginning. Now, if we are able to procure a product like that and then we run it and it runs in one language or two, and then if we are able to use technology, use AI or other means, and are able to create multiple language versions of these, and then instead of running it on the platform only in, say, English or in Hindi, we are able to immediately take it to the larger audiences, and particularly in the hinterland, in the regional languages. Then, whether it is Bangla or Marathi or Mizo or Assamese or Gujarati or whichever other language, then the returns are faster, the returns are quicker, and the market penetration is deeper. So I think that's one element where technology can be of great help to us. So essentially, we are looking at doing some of the same things that both creators as well as private players are doing to compress the timelines so that we are able to address market needs faster, and to also use better technology so that we can do a wider and a deeper market penetration.
I think it's wonderful to know this, and kudos to the government for doing this, because this is exactly what was needed. If procurement is going to be done directly of the available content, I think that will really shorten the timeline for creators. And just to clarify one point, are these guidelines for procurement now available in public domain?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
They are. Okay.
In fact, for any of you who are interested, you could go to the Prasar Bharati and take a website and take a look at the guidelines, whether it is for revenue sharing, whether it is for procurement, whether it is for even evaluation of fresh content. The entire set of guidelines are available. And in the last month or so, since the Waves e-Bazaar was set up by the ministry, so we've also registered ourselves as a procurer, as a buyer of content. So which means that instead of going through our own internal process of somebody emailing me, or or having to set up a separate portal, we've also now registered ourselves on the Waves e-Bazaar. So the content creators need not hunt around for different portals. You go to Waves e-Bazaar, indicate that Prasar Bharati is one of the buyers that you are interested in, and then we'll get in touch with you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I think, that deserves a big round of applause. Yeah. Mike, my next question is to you. In all this talk about IP creation, how does your country handle protection of its IP? Because I'm sure that's a big issue.
It is. It's a big issue in the United States, certainly to protect IP. I think it's a big issue here in India and, frankly, globally as well. And as we look to a future of increased trade between India and the US, this Mission 500 idea that the President and the Prime Minister have committed to when they met back in February, that the Prime Minister and the Vice President recommitted to last week, it's going to be built on trade in goods, trade in services both. It's going to be powered by the idea that there can be joint production and joint development of everything from goods to be sold around the world to services and content. And that's all got to ride on a backbone of the protection of intellectual property rights, whether it's talking about an advanced technology in pharmaceuticals or manufacturing or in content. In the United States, the way that we look at this, it's enshrined in our Constitution from 1787, the very idea that patents and trademarks and copyrights can be protected. And then we advance that through global bodies that India is also part of, like the World Intellectual Property Organization. Here in India, we've been very impressed with some of the work that India has done in the last few years. I think what we're looking for is to increase enforcement, especially at the state level. Across this giant country that is so diverse and so energetic and dynamic as India, it's important that people at all levels respect and protect these copyrights. I think we have ways to do that. We've covered some ground already, and I think that we can do more together.
Right.
In protecting the IP, you're going to protect the rights of the authors. And I will say, I don't know if you want to come back to this later, as we get into artificial intelligence and the application of artificial intelligence into IP, it's particularly important that we put in place a regime that protects the rights of the authors, the creators, whoever they may be, to make sure that AI-generated content respects the right of the input of those authors who helped generate that final product. And that's something I think that we can work forward together on, India and the US together, to set a standard for the world.
Right. Yeah, I would have asked you about AI and how it is helping in protection of IP, certainly. Charvi, I would like to ask you that other than government support and other than going for private funding, is there a third channel that you see which is available for supporting content? And I think there is. Is CSR something, a channel which can be exploited?
So as per our previous conversation just before the panel started, I mean, that was something where even I wasn't aware of. If the CSR funding, I mean, the CSR can be utilized. So typically it's been used to commission artworks for sure. That has been done by the private sector, pan-India, big private sectors rather. So they do commission sculptures, I mean artists for sculptures or fine art. But yes, it has definitely been not explored before if animation could be commissioned, because animation typically comes for commercial, it comes in the category of commercial arts. So that's something that one can check. I'm not too sure, but it's an unexplored area. So we'll have to, because...
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of institutions are also using AI for AVGC for content creation for education purposes.
So it's definitely been used for training models for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, that's for their private consumption, internal consumption.
Right.
Not for public distribution.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm not too sure of, whether does it really qualify as the animation as a medium for being utilized.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I don't think it qualifies if it is going to be used for commercial purposes,
Exactly.
but for
Because
public good, if it serves
for training
that,
models, definitely yes. I don't think so there is any problem, but then that's in support of what the private sector is doing.
So somebody had asked this question yesterday that they have an IP, but they don't have anybody to support for the creation of content. For such people, maybe you could tap into the CSR funds, but then make it very clear that whatever you're going to create is going to be used by that company for further dissemination of whatever purpose they are getting that content created for. So long as they are not using it for any commercial purpose, a company can fund your IP creation and it can be publicly available.
This is something that we have a word for it today, which is crowdfunding. But the first major example of crowdfunding for content creation in India, I don't know if anybody of you would be able to answer this question. Any thoughts? Which was the first major? Manthan. Yeah. So this is Shyam Benegalji when he made Manthan. Not only did he put in some money, and he was given some money, of course, by the agencies to create that film, but all the women of the Amul cooperative area, they contributed 5 rupees each into this special project vehicle which was set up for making that movie. So in a sense, all the women of that area from Anand and around were not only milk producers but also shareholders in the film Manthan.
Yeah, so they all did their bit of CSR by providing money for that cause. Seed capital. Yes. I think we are now at a stage where we can have questions from the audience.
There is no mechanism which we could find in USA, no government legislation which would prevent the ISP providers or the broadband providers to ban those IPs which are feeding these IPTV boxes, which is a very simple thing. The government of India curbed this sort of piracy by making a law, no torrents or no ISPs which were providing pirated content will be allowed to be broadcast further. Why is US government shying away from putting in legislation which bans all those IPs?
The development of in the United States of the internet ecosystem and internet business goes back to the laws that were passed in the 1990s that mostly said that the backbone of data that flows, that's provided by an internet service provider, is provided without respect to what's going over it. And that's the foundational element of the US approach to technology. I think we're seeing a very similar approach when you're taking a look at AI now. In the United States, typically, we try not to regulate and legislate first, but rather step back and then let the market sort things out, with very much a great idea of respecting intellectual property rights. It's not meant to dismiss the intellectual property rights of creators, of authors, of owners like you, but rather to encourage the development of an ecosystem. Now, that means then you've got to bring in the organs of law enforcement and apply the rule of law. That's very important to do, without a doubt. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, which is to go in and talk with the legislators at the national level and at the state level. Maybe if they hear more of these stories, they'll say, well, maybe it's time to make a shift.
Next question.
My question is to Gaurav, sir. What is the legal standing for Waves OTT and Prasar Bharati in general for AI-generated human characters? Hollywood is not touching it because of artistic IP. Here in Mumbai, GEC channels are not touching because of different reason. AI-generated humans, someone can come and say that it looks like me. So how would Waves OTT and Prasar Bharati tackle it?
Gaurav calling Gaurav, huh? Okay, so there are actually these absolutely diametrically opposite views when it comes to AI-generated content. You know, the big granddaddy of communications, Noam Chomsky, firmly believes that AI is absolutely nothing but plagiarism. That's one extreme view that he has. And on the other hand, of course, we do have some of this content which we've played out as part of the program, which was AI generated. We do have some proposals that have come to us. We are examining those. Whether it is fine to only use AI to stitch together existing content and then maybe enhance it a bit, that's one approach that could be taken, which would address the specific issue that you raised, or to create afresh some new content, some IP, which always has the danger of somebody being able to really dig deep into it and recognize that, okay, this is the specific thing that your AI algorithm picked up to create this character or this particular part of the music notes or whatever it might be. So we are still examining that. But as far as the legal position is concerned, the legal position is still evolving. So there are really no laws as such, which...
There are laws against impersonating any living character.
Impersonation is a different one, but impersonation, so that's what I said. Specifically, AI is related, there are no laws as such, which either prescribe or proscribe. So in that sense, you're free to experiment. But when it comes to commercial exploitation, I think all over the world, while there is a lot of content that is being produced already, but the commercial exploitation, I think people are still a bit hesitant about it. And we are also, as I said, examining some proposals that have come to us, and then we'll take a call over the next few weeks and decide whether we want to experiment with that.
Regarding the animation process, the evaluation or the review process, what if AI was given the guidelines and then the whole animation is reviewed using AI itself? The AI analyzes the video, so that reduces the back and forth between the government and the animation studio. Is that maybe possible, or does that reduce the back and forth? the feedback loop? Yeah, sure. Anyone.
I think if the numbers go
It's
so
just an-
high.
It's just an idea.
No, theoretically possible, yes. In fact, if you see many of the major platforms are already using AI for certain things where while you may not exactly call it a preview or a review mechanism, but yes, definitely to address some of the legal requirements. So say, for instance, some of the international platforms that are streaming in India, now by law they are required to have the smoking kills, the caption come up when somebody is smoking on screen. Now, earlier it used to be a part of the print itself. So now, of course, with vast volumes of content, the content which is streaming in India passes through an AI filter. So things like nudity or smoking or drinking. So you get those captions on the screen on your Netflix or your Prime. So they are all use of AI. So from there to what you are saying is a simple extension process. Theoretically possible. I don't know if anybody's done that yet. We haven't yet.
And God forbid if that happens, if AI is sort of reviewing your content, whether it should be commissioned or not, do you want that? I don't think we want that.
No, there would always be a appeal process. No?
Okay.
No, there are things. Say, for instance, which say you have a particular piece of content like a Salman Khan film, for instance. He would take off his shirt now, whether you want to keep that scene or you don't want to keep that scene.
I think the first layer of filter AI can do, but eventually the human involvement would be required. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if the first layer itself removes the content which was desirable in first place? So, yeah, okay. The appeal process.
American company called Sinclair Broadcasting that was speaking at another panel about a technology that they're rolling out together with the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting here in India to do streaming over feature phones. Many Indians have feature phones, especially outside the metro areas, tier 2, tier 3, small towns. They've got feature phones. By doing streaming over a feature phone and enabling this with this advanced technology, a collaboration between India and the United States, you're going to get content into more people's hands. And it's addressing your point of how do you make it more accessible to more people. If you get that quantity number up, then you can make it financially viable for the firms that are distributing. They see a lot of promise in this, and I think it's a good example of the way that two countries can work together, US and India, to use technology to scale it up in India on a world-first model.
In fact, I'd like to elaborate further on what Mike said. So what we are proposing to do in Prasar Bharati is not streaming, but broadcasting. So what you do today, if you have to consume some content on your phone, then you use a data stream and you basically incur data charges, whether you're watching whatever YouTube or anything else. So we are experimenting with this technology, and we've already done large-scale trials within Delhi and Bangalore, where we can use our existing bandwidth that we have in Prasar Bharati to broadcast channels which can then be received on phones, whether feature phones or smartphones, without incurring data charges. So just to give you a simple corollary, not a similar example, many of the phones, say 10, 15, 20 years back, used to come with FM receivers built in. And you could listen to radio and there would be no data charges because it's a broadcast that your phone is catching. So this is the video version of that. So you can switch off your data and you can still get the content, but then the difference there is that this is also going to be linear content because it's a broadcast content. So therefore, the issue of choice that you want, the only choice which will be available to you is to switch between channels, but you can't consume OTT kind content. So both of these options we are exploring. And in terms of the accessibility part, I think what we've done in Prasar Bharati with the Waves OTT is to deliberately keep the accessibility cost as zero. While there is, of course, the data charges, but being the public service broadcaster, we are mandated that our information, our entertainment, our news must reach every citizen in India without any access barriers. There's no walled garden. So there is some premium content which is available on a subscription, but the basic set of services on the Prasar Bharati Waves OTT is absolutely free. Give your phone number, fill in the OTT, you're good to go.
Great.
Excuse me.
So, yeah, please.
May I,
Yeah.
May I just take the Charvi-san's comment on her Canada experience? And actually, JETRO is now really focusing on how we can take advantage by Indian young generation to work in the Japanese contents industry or even study in Japan. And today we have two of my colleagues here in the front row, and they are in charge of these schemes. So if any young guys who are interested in working or studying in Japan or Japanese company, just contact them. Thank you.
Great. So I think we have time for one last question, or just one last question.
Is there any effort made to make sure that there's an understanding of the animation process specifically, which is separate to live action and other mediums?
Would you like to? Because she's talking about government support.
So as I said right in the beginning, precisely for this reason, that the government processes are more or less cast in stone, and therefore, to expect that any particular sector would get a special treatment or any relaxation is a bit difficult. It happens sometimes. So for instance, graffiti studios here in Mumbai, Munjal Shroff and his company. So they were commissioned by the Ministry of INB, and they created this animation series on the not so well-known freedom fighters of India on the 75th anniversary of our republic. And this KTB Bharat Hai Hum, this series that they produced, so it was then subsequently run jointly on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, and on the entire Prasar Bharati network. We also had a radio version on Akashvani, and of course the animated version going on Doordarshan and also on Waves OTT. So we've also been doing that within the government. But again, within the governments, the timelines that are prescribed are very rigidly followed. So therefore, to expect that you have a project which will come in today and then the deliverables will come after 2 years, it's a bit difficult. Another point I think which I didn't mention earlier, one reason why the private sector and particularly the say the larger companies are also a little better placed to put in large amounts of money as compared to the government is because out of every IP that is created, which is successfully created, they are able to actually develop a larger number of streams from which the IP can be monetized. Therefore, I think government grants really, I think it is an option. It's not a closed option. But I would think that looking at things like the private sector, or maybe doing some sort of a collaboration, or crowdfunding, or even CSR, if that works, are far better options. From the government side, I think I'm not talking about India. I'm talking about a global perspective. There, I think to equate the AVG sector completely with live action in terms of the subsidies and other financial support that is offered by the government is a far safer bet than looking for just upfront grants.
Okay, I think that sums up this panel, and I would like to thank Mike, Mr. Dwivedi, Mr. Suzuki, and Charvi for coming here and sharing their thoughts on this subject.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, friends. Namaskar. It's an absolute joy and privilege to be here with all of you today. This is the first WAVE Summit, and it has already created a storm all around. It has brought together the most vibrant creative voices from more than 100 countries on a common stage. My gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi ji for his incredible vision for this summit and for his consistent, unparalleled leadership in taking India and Indian culture to the world. This summit is a powerful reminder of who we are and who we have always been. I speak to you as a proud citizen of our ancient land. And the theme of my keynote is taking India to the world. Long before the birth of the internet or even cinema, the influence of Indian culture had already spread across the globe. Taking India to the world is not a new concept or a new idea. The light of India has traveled far and wide for thousands of years. Hundreds of Buddhist monks from all over the world traveled on foot to India in ancient times in search of cultural and spiritual knowledge. In Japan and Indonesia, Hindu deities like Lakshmi, Saraswati, Shiva, Ram, and Ganesh are worshipped even today. The splendor of India's temple architecture can be seen in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Borobudur in Indonesia, and the ruins of charm temples in Vietnam. Indian philosophy left a deep imprint on some of the greatest thinkers and philosophers of the world. We are a country enriched by the wisdom of its civilization, but equally energized by the throbbing energy of the world's youngest population. A country where sacred traditions meet modern dynamism in perfect harmony, where the rising power of our economy, soon to be the third largest in the world, meets our soaring global soft power. We are a timeless civilization that gifted humanity with the enduring ideals of Satya, Ahimsa, Ekta, and Aman, truth, non-violence, unity, and peace. A luminous nation that gave the world the wisdom of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and the teachings of Gautam Buddha and Mahatma Gandhi. Bharat is where it all began. India is the origin of Om, the sound of the birth of our universe, the birthplace of zero, Shunya, the beginning of the infinite, the home of Sanskrit that gave the world language, the land of yoga and Ayurveda, the pioneer in science and philosophy, from Aryabhat's astronomical calculations to Adi Sankaracharya's Advait Vedanta, the beacon of arts and literature, from our classical music and dance forms to the epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We are the very cradle of civilization, a cultural force whose time has come once again. Every civilization tells a story. Some tell it with power and might, but we have always told our stories with our soul. For over 5,000 years, from our Kathavachaks to the traveling bards, from our legendary folklore to temple murals, and from our epics to present-day cinema, storytelling has always been the heartbeat of our legacy. In the modern age, India's magnificent heritage and the soft power of our theatre, dance, music, cinema, writers, artists, and artisans have won the hearts and minds of people in all continents and corners of the globe. Friends, like all Indians, we at Reliance Foundation are great admirers and ardent supporters and passionate lovers of art. And we deeply believe in the power of our culture to heal, inspire, and unite. At the foundation, we regard it to be our highest duty to protect, preserve, revive, and honor India's priceless artistic legacy. It is with this spirit that we started the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center 2 years ago. Our vision is to showcase the best of India to the world and bring the best of the world to India. With the same vision, we started Swadesh, our humble movement to encourage and promote India's age-old arts and crafts on the global stage. Swadesh honors our traditional artisans who have learnt at the feet of their fathers and grandfathers, and whose every weave, every carving, every brush carries not just the touch of the hand, but the memory of centuries. For instance, the Indian sari, which is one of the fondest expression of our tradition. Today, our timeless 9 yards are weaving the India story across fashion runways, woven by our weavers with love and worn by our women with pride, wherever in the world they are, from Mother Teresa to India's missile woman, Dr. Tessie Thomas, to our Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, our lawyers to journalists, and from astronauts to change makers, all wear it as an ode to a legacy that has been passed down over thousands of years from their mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers. That is the magic of our culture. It evolves without erasing. In most parts of the world, culture is something to be preserved. But in India, it is something we live every day. For us, it's not a memory frozen in time. It is our living reality. It flows like our rivers and breathes like a forest. Here in India, the modern does not compete with the ancient. It coexists in perfect harmony. And this is what Indian culture sets us apart. Our ability to hold contradictions with grace, to honor tradition and welcome transitions and transformations, to cherish our similarities and celebrate our differences. For centuries, India has gifted the world its wisdom, its beauty, and its soul. Somewhere along the way, our voice softened. But now it is rising again. And for that, we owe deep gratitude to our Prime Minister Modi ji, whose unwavering vision and leadership have reignited India's voice on the world stage with pride and purpose. From yoga to Chandrayaan, from digital inclusion to cultural diplomacy, from G20 to waves. Today, India's spirit is inspiring the world like never before. And young Indians are answering the call, embracing our roots, carrying our spirit, and making India proud on the world stage. From sports fields to concert halls, from fashion houses to global kitchens and international dance festivals. In spite of living away from India,